Okay, good afternoon. And this is the first day after Memorial Day. We are psyched to be at work, even though it's beautiful outside here in Pittsburgh. We are thrilled at our guest today, and we're thrilled about what's ahead. I'm Audrey Russo, I'm President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council. I'm here with Jonathan Kirsting, who's all things visibility, and he will be joining us and helping us field questions this morning. So want to give a shout out to AT&T and to Huntington Bank for their work in supporting us right from the beginning. We're in our 10th week of making sure that the community, the tech community, is connected and talking about all things that sort of make it special here in Pittsburgh and figuring out ways to forge ahead. So just a quick programming note, tomorrow we go live with Harry Mosley, Global CIO of Zoom, and we're looking forward to learning more about their plans for a new Pittsburgh operation. We're excited about that. And Thursday, we're thrilled to be hosting State Representative Dan Frankel, who will be discussing legislation that he has championed to enhance Pennsylvania's process for contact tracing, which will be even more important as communities reopen for business. And on Friday, we're hosting the chairman and CEO of Essential, which is the new company that was formed after Aqua America acquired Pittsburgh's People's Gas here in Western Pennsylvania. The new company at its core is a science and engineering firm. So we're very thrilled about hearing from their leadership. And then next Monday, because we are busy in our pipeline of people, we will kick off the week with Travis Williams. He's the president of the Pittsburgh Pirates, and crossing our fingers to make sure that we have some great news about the future of baseball. So we muted everyone's, as you've zoomed in, you can see that we've muted you only to make sure that we can hear our guests. And we also have a chat that you can ask questions and we will hopefully get to. We have a packed show, and I really want to bring on first is Ryan Gent on our team at the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and Kit Mueller, all things entrepreneurial in our community and representing Rust Belt. We are going to talk about the Pittsburgh Civic Hackathon that occurred, hard to believe, 2 weekends ago. That was just an incredible 48 hours. And many of you, if you don't know what a hackathon is, we're going to set the stage and talk about what that is. I also want to give a shout out to Okta and Shell Games because they were actually sponsors for the Pittsburgh Civic Hackathon. It was pulled together in 3 short weeks, amazing results. We're going to be here talking to the winner and the person and the team that came in second place. So first I want to bring on Ryan, and I want to talk about why did we do this? What is a hackathon? So welcome, Ryan, and thank you for taking the leadership on this.
Well, thank you, Audrey. Long time no talk. Well, the reason we came up with this is obviously, you know, as a membership organization, we were looking at things to engage our members during the lockdown and also ways that we could try to enhance the community and get community engagement. So we thought of the idea of a hackathon, and you had just asked, what is a hackathon? So I went to Kit and said, Kit, what is a hackathon? At which point, you know, Kit discussed with me some of the hackathons he had put on in the past, including a civic hackathon in 2013. So we decided that was probably the best way right now, as people are probably looking even more closely at some of the problems that afflict their communities. You know, this gives you a good opportunity to come up with solutions to solve that problem. And I think probably one of the biggest accomplishments is after Kit and I, you know, were together for 3 weeks, is that we're still friends. I think so. We're still friends.
So talk about, I'm going to pass the baton over to Kit real quick. Hi, Kit. Thank you for being here, and thank you for all things that you do in our region and beyond. So just set the table. What is a hackathon? Because really anyone can participate in a hackathon. It is not just for computer scientists and engineers.
No, in fact, it's explicitly. I mean, there's many shades and iterations of it, but the one we took was kind of casting a call out to the community to join kind of like-minded people, both designers, developers, and storytellers, to come together and leverage technology to solve some of the civic issues that have been kind of highlighted and kind of raised the specter of during this past 3 months. And so we wanted to address kind of this mounting interest and people kind of leaning in and wanting to help. So in the short order of 3 days, over 150 people signed up. 18 ideas were pitched. Of that, about 8 teams were formed, and then 6 resultant solutions that are pretty impactful to some pressing civic issues.
And so anyone can have an idea, you know, and participate in this. And I think I've been involved with them with you from startup weekends and other hackathons. And it always blows my mind about the amount of ideas that people just have. People have a ton of ideas. You just never get a chance to talk about it unless you're sitting around having a few drinks and laughing and going, I have an idea for that. And yet in a hackathon, it's not that different. It's that accessible. And
no,
that's the thing that I love.
It kind of lowers the barrier to just giving it a try, right? And locking virtual arms in this case with people that are like-minded and are willing to just give it a shot and see how much can be really built, how much capacity can be brought to bear, and what amazing solutions can be brought in the short order of like 54 hours.
And so what does that mean? Just give us a real synopsis of how you got to these teams, and then these other teams get formed, and then the other ideas sort of laid to rest.
Yeah, in this case, we had a little hurdle of not being together. It obviously makes it a lot easier when you can kind of, you know, bounce ideas off of and then get up and pitch. But in this case, we had an amazing, in fact, even before the event, you know, the people kind of pinging me and saying, is this within the you know, kind of specter of what you were looking at? And does this make sense? Is this a civic issue? And to which I wholeheartedly just said yes, because the kind of impetus is we want as many people to be involved as possible, and we want to see as many ideas come out as possible. So on Friday night, people pitched ideas from math education to, you know, as we'll talk about today, both the kind of logistics and new modes of accessibility for municipalities, consumers, and restaurants. They pitched ideas to mitigate kind of more generational systemic stuff, all the way to stuff that kind of just bugs you about potholes. So we saw about, you know, a couple dozen ideas pitched, and then the crowds themselves voted on those ideas, what that they thought would be the kind of top 8 ideas. And then those people that pitched recruited their teams that they'd work on from the weekend, from the assembled attendees that were multidisciplinary. We had, you know, CTOs of some of the more bigger, promising startups in Pittsburgh, all the way to, you know, bank executives kind of rolling up their sleeves for the weekend.
Which is really exciting. And part of the process is also getting to know customers, right? So you actually accelerated that during the weekend.
Yeah,
so, right?
The weekend itself is a kind of a microcosm of go-to-market of any nascent tech idea. So yeah, you pitch it, you have to get people to join your team, you know, compel an audience of otherwise strangers that this is a viable thing, that we're going to spend our time between work and school over a weekend to kind of manifest. And then on Saturday, the first order of business is to see if that thesis you pitched last night has any validity in the market. So you got to get out of the building, both, you know, in this case, virtually, talk to your main stakeholders, your addressable market, and then start to build an MVP and iterate over a course of 24 or 48 hours.
Tell people what an MVP is.
Sorry, it's a prototype, the minimum viable product. What is the least we can do that's as compelling in the spirit of that thesis we pitched last night, that's compelling enough to a dais of judges tomorrow night?
So that's a great way to set the table. And I'm so glad that you and Ryan are still friends after 3 weeks of attacking.
You guys still like each other, right?
Yeah.
We hope that, Ryan, we're going to attack this again. So I'm thrilled about that.
Are we doing this again? I think we should. It should be a quarterly event, I propose.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan. Since you have nothing to do with it, that's fabulous.
I'm just saying, if you want to do it, I'm there to help.
So I want to now bring on Andy Ellis. Andy Ellis, who he's going to talk about Localize Marketplace. That, I believe, came in second, right, Ryan and Kit? That came in second.
Yeah.
So let's bring Andy to the screen. Hi, Andy. Good morning.
Hi, thanks for having me on. I think a better segue would have been anybody can do this, because
So anybody could do this. That's why
I
we
signed
brought
up
Andy on.
and did something, which is nothing short of amazing.
So good afternoon, and thanks for being here, and thanks for being so committed to this. So set the stage. Talk about Localize. Why would Localize come in second, do you think?
I think because it's an exciting idea that everybody could relate to. And it's something that has become more apparent as a result of the environment we're in currently, where people are trying to do more to invest in their communities, support local businesses, restaurants, their vendors in the strip district that they can't visit as regularly anymore. And it's really kind of shining a light on how we all have passively kind of bought into a system through time of more towards some of the big box stores and having things delivered straight to our doors from China and things of that nature. So I think that it's kind of like a time and a place thing where people are starting to recognize some of the fragility in the system that we've kind of ushered into our lives.
So give us your pitch of what is Localize Pittsburgh?
Yeah, so Localize Pittsburgh is,
sorry.
Yeah, Localize Marketplace Pittsburgh it was just, I think my pitch, the first night started with, I think it was a fake Thomas Jefferson quote about why has it been easier to have shit delivered to my door directly from China than from just down the Monongahela. This idea that, we can have things delivered to our door directly without anybody kind of making it or touching it anywhere close to us and have it delivered directly to our doors. Whereas if we want things from just down the river, you're looking at, potentially a couple weeks to have it delivered to your door. And it's just mind boggling to me that so much focus is put on solving for the last mile. And we are relying upon people that run multinational organizations to solve for the last mile when we all kind of live here, right?
So how do you see this working?
So it's like in any two-sided marketplace, what we need to do is buy-in from both vendors and from consumers. So like a big part of it for me is technology. The technology is out there to create a marketplace for buyers and sellers to come together, but it takes an environment like the environment we're in to actually force people to take the steps to support these local businesses. So, when competing with someone like Grubhub or Amazon, who's delivering directly to your door, it's put up or shut up time for people in places like Pittsburgh to say, do I really need things at the drop of a hat, at the snap of a finger? Or is it time to kind of reintroduce some of the friction, but actually supporting the local economy and the local businesses here, right? So we've all kind of gently nudged ourselves in this, like, through passive decision-making to this system that has allowed us to outsource and offshore so many things. And this is a great wake-up call. So what needs to happen is we need local vendors to take advantage of the technologies such as like Digital River or Shopify to start getting some of their stuff online. And we need consumers to show up to that marketplace and actually buy from there. And then once you get a critical mass of vendors and people, making that last mile delivery within this region is not that difficult.
So a few weeks ago, we had on our show state representative from Somerset and Bedford County that actually talked about what was happening with milk, that was happening with meat, with cattle, et cetera. And there is a huge farm to table movement that actually is reaching the farmers, but it's not happening to scale.
Right.
So are you seeing that being part of this?
Yeah, I think that's a huge opportunity. I mean, there's a company locally called Harvey Farms that is a technology platform that enables farms all over the country and even into Canada to go directly to consumers online so people can sign up more easily for CSAs and say, I didn't even know there was a farm there. I can buy directly from them. This is a local Pittsburgh company that you don't really see much or hear about in the tech scene, but they've bootstrapped their way to tens of millions of dollars in revenue every year. So it's about getting that critical mass on both sides. That's so important. But yeah, absolutely serving their needs as well as, as I mentioned, some of the vendors and purveyors in the strip district.
So there's actually a question out here
Mhm.
that I want to quickly ask from Michael Nilo, just to make sure that we're understanding here.
Mhm.
That they're saying, is this the first, he's saying this is the first time I've heard of Digital River or Shopify. Is there a good centralized marketplace for online shopping with local vendors? Is there one you could request?
There's nothing that is doing this and aggregating things locally. So what's happened is
That's what you're doing.
technology has enabled people to easily build an online shop and list their goods and wares and keep inventory and take online payment. Technology has enabled that. But what I'm saying is we need to aggregate all of that so that we can share shipping costs, that we can build that consumer demand, and also have enough vendors in one place where if you go onto that platform and you say you want eggs or say you want milk and you know someone's dumping milk 30, 40 miles away, but you go to buy milk and there's only one or two vendors on there and they're sold out for the week, there's no reason for that. We should be aggregating all of the goods and all of the produce and all of the things that you should be able to buy locally, should be able to aggregate it and aggregate the buyers as well.
So will you be able to build this, Andy? Do you think that there's next steps in terms of you building this?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest issue, and it's like a call to arms, is you're gonna hear from Adam in a little bit. It's the same thing, is that the technology is there. We are all talking about supporting our local businesses and supporting our regional economy, but at the first sign of friction, you can't run from it, right? We can't compete again with an Amazon and have you snap your fingers and have things delivered immediately. But let's be honest, if we have to wait a few days, 2 days to 3 days to get delivery from Penn back, the amount of friction, the amount of time we can compress now because of technology has shortened a lot. We used to have direct-to-consumer dairy farm delivery and things of that nature. We had a system where we were doing this before. Now we need to utilize that technology. So it's Audrey, the biggest thing is if we can get a fair amount of vendors and businesses that are interested in listing and aggregating their costs for delivery, I think that we will be able to rally the people of Pittsburgh to sign up as consumers for this thing. And I think there absolutely is an opportunity to build this. Yes.
Okay. So I think you're probably right. I think that people now, we've been at this for like 10, 11 weeks. And I think people are understanding what their own cadence is in terms of what they expect from delivery. And it doesn't have to come within a nanosecond. So, I would like to see you, Andy, build this. What do you need from the tech community?
The biggest thing we need from the tech community right now is we need to encourage vendors who are already shipping to consumers in the region. We need to aggregate that data so that we can say, hey, look, these 10 organizations, these 10 local businesses are already shipping concentrated amounts of goods to these zip codes. And once we can build that story, then we can start coming up with a plan to drive down the costs of the delivery for everyone so that you don't have to pay each individual vendor a $10 or $15 delivery charge. They can share that cost and the consumer can get more goods delivered under the one delivery fee.
So if people want to reach out to you and participate, how can they reach out? Is there going to be a website? Is there going to be
we posted a Localize marketplace website and shared it on LinkedIn. If we can get more vendors to sign up and tell us if they're already doing local delivery and if they would like to, that's where we start, Audrey. Then we find the biggest ones that are already doing local delivery, aggregate those, and then we can start bolting on people that want to start getting into delivery.
Okay.
So that's the biggest first step.
Okay, well, first of all, my sense just over these last 12 weeks and from the conversations Jonathan and I have had is that people are interested in this and people want this and they just don't know how or who. So I would encourage everyone to go out and to reach out to Andy on LinkedIn. And if you have any other questions, you can certainly reach out to Ryan as well as Kit, and we can figure out a way to connect everyone. So Andy built a landing page that you can actually see in the chat. and we can just share that. If all of you can share that, that would really help Andy. So now,
Go a long way. Thank you.
don't go away. I
Well,
want to bring up Adam Paulisick. Their team came in first place, and it's now time to talk about PittsCurb. So
Okay.
talk about the problem that you were solving and where you saw the opportunity in the marketplace and what's next. So
Yeah,
thank
I mean,
you, Adam.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, you know, all kind of changes the pandemic brings about some unfortunate truths. Couple big facts that we learned come Friday night, thanks to the orientation for all the great mentors that were floating around the hackathon. The first one was that parking revenue is down 90% year over year in the city of Pittsburgh, right? And for those that are less familiar with the parking system, I want to say parking taxes are something like 13% of our budget. And it's a non-trivial contribution to kind of keeping the machine moving throughout not only the city, but also sort of the region, right? Including backing our pension fund, which is on the back of a lot of people putting in a lot of hard work way before this pandemic. I think the second fact that I was sort of tangentially aware of, but I think Andy really brings up a good point around just how disintermediated our dollars had gone to supporting local. So, you know, we talked to north of 60 restaurants this weekend, right? Some small chains, some single locations, some chains around 30. 25, 30, 35, almost 40% in some instances are going to these third-party delivery services. So we're faced with facts, as Kit would joke, like when we got hit with the hard truth on Friday night that says, listen, parking revenue is down. Restaurants are actually making about a third less than you think they are, even though you are quote unquote supporting local. And the city needs to think about reinventing the use of the curb, which is arguably the most valuable real estate in the entire city, right? And there's lots of people thinking about that. Taxpayers, small business owners, community development corporations like the Downtown Partnership or Oakland Bid or Lawrenceville Corporation. And so we set off to design something in simple terms that allowed, one, the city to redraw with almost like their own personal Crayola set on top of Google Maps, all the new places that they wanted to have curbside pickup that would support this crazy world that we're living in now, but also the future of takeout and pickup going forward. So one was build a simple drawing tool that was connected to the parking payment and enforcement system that would allow them to create pop-up parking and eliminate pop-up parking as experimentation and data came through about supporting restaurants. The second major stakeholder, not surprisingly, is restaurants, but also retailers and service providers that want to do curbside pickup. What type of integrations do we need to do with point of sale systems like Lavu or Aloha, where Primanti Brothers actually can take an order online and automatically book on behalf of a consumer a curbside parking spot, reducing all the friction for people to pull right up, grab those sandwiches and move along. And then the third option is, as we consumers, all of us on this call, think about convenience of picking up our friend after happy hour or grabbing something from the tailor or a dry cleaner or our taxes from downtown, what's the way where for $1 or $2 or whatever the parking authority with the city decides, I can just pull up for 10 or 20 minutes, grab my thing, not cause mayhem by double parking and doing a Pittsburgh left in the middle of the intersection and kind of do all this stuff. And so, as Kit kind of rightly described, there's sort of three parts of the triangle. City, municipalities, community development corporations redrawing pop-up parking, restaurants and retailers needing integrations with direct ordering mechanisms like telephone and online, and consumers needing a really simple app. For those that are listening today, you can go to PittsCurb.com and get that example prototype of quick reservations that require a phone number, your car description, and you're already booked. So that's the idea, and that's what we've built so far, Audrey.
And so that's major disruption. There's one of, in a positive way, that's major disruption because there's these intermediaries that take a significant amount of money that these restaurants who have been doing carry out over these last 10 weeks are really just keeping alive their, their own pipeline for their own logistics, right? Their own suppliers.
Yeah.
So they're lucky if they're even breaking even.
Yeah, I think, we talked to a lot of restaurateurs. I think that, she or he expressed a little bit of a love-hate relationship. So when you're already paying for a full kitchen and you have full capacity at your restaurant, it's a little bit of an icing on the cake moment. There's certainly demand. There's a good proposition there. I don't want to speak for every restaurant, let alone any, and say that there's not something valuable around DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats or whatever it might be. But let's talk in simple truths. There is no leverage for a restaurant if 100% of your demand is created by a marketplace that does not care about local taxpayers, the curbs that are picked up on, the parking lots that are overcrowded. It's simple reward system. So this is a leverage, or this is a tool to say, hey, listen, you know, Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub, I just need you to be more competitive, right? I need you to find a different way to make a compelling proposition to me as a stakeholder, as a retailer or a restaurateur, not just the consumer, right? Which is not exclusive of the consumer. But the second big disruptive point we're talking about is, what if parking became a B2B paying experience? Dozens of restaurants we talked to said, hey, listen, no big deal. I love the curb. I appreciate the city cleaning up everything about it, all those municipal services. I appreciate the infrastructure that runs under the streets supported by the county, right? Why shouldn't I be able to pay $1 for my customers to have a really easy experience? I mean, I'm saving 25 or 30% if you order direct, in that spirit of kind of localizing all these dollars. And that in its own right becomes this really intriguing moment for the parking authority and the city and the county and potentially national counties and municipalities to say, well, what if the person who's benefiting from the curb actually pays their portion? And because there's such a high turnover rate, you could see parking rates actually increase 40, 50% in some regions and create less wear and tear on the city infrastructure. So a couple of really exciting things came out of the city, a couple of really exciting moments were kind of brewing on behalf of those that participated.
No, I mean, I respect the disruption. I think there's a common theme that happened all weekend, and Kit and Ryan can jump in, because it was really not just about, it's about getting close to the product and the market. That's really what I'm hearing. And I'm hearing that this has happened even in more rapid way since the pandemic, that people are feeling like there is a sense of localized, not to riff off of Andy's title, but really there is a sense to be closer. And we had the head of the Restaurant and Lodging Association on probably 5 weeks ago and talking about the decimation of restaurants. And we know how hard we have built up that, you know, quote unquote ecosystem here that we're really proud of. And the thought of them not coming back is devastating to all of us. And I really appreciate it. I think that's the essence of the civic engagement that I heard this weekend, is really getting close, getting intimate, and figuring out some ways to solve some real problems and things that we all like. We all like this, right? We all want to have our food. We all want to support farmers. We all want to support people who are doing, you know, we want to support, whether it's Permane Brothers or anyone that's in the Strip District. We want that. And do we need 3 days for all of that? Or could there be other solutions? So I applaud that. I applaud Kit and Ryan for doing this experiment. I think this is something to stay. I think this discussion around civic engagement in terms of tech is imperative in our world right now. And I hope it always is. So I applaud you all. I know that there was actually even a group that came in third where they talked about crowdsourced summer. And, you know, thank goodness I don't have a kid at home right now, because I would be going nuts trying to figure out how to manipulate all that it is for a child to, you know, to be engaged and to, you know, participate in a milieu of things rather than the traditional summer camps. So the ideas that came from this are just really, really phenomenal. So I want to thank all of you. I think everyone put their websites out there and contact information. We look for all of that. And now I want to talk about just what we've ramped up at the Tech Council, because we too feel these issues, and these issues really matter to me and to all of us, about staying connected, becoming intimate, and understanding the kinds of provisions that we need to do for the new world. And this week, we are hosting our first virtual All STEM Summit. So we're starting on Thursday and running through June 5th. And we will be hosting students and teachers from across the Commonwealth. So it doesn't, you know, you can be in Altoona, you can participate. You know, if you want, you could be in Texas, you can participate. And we will be hosting students and teachers for about 45 minutes at least each day, starting around 1 o'clock, with some of our most exciting STEM-related career opportunities that are in Pittsburgh. We already have over 650 teachers and students themselves that are already signed up, and I'm just going to give you a list of the kinds of people that we're going to be able to peel inside of and sort of pick their brains. And so we're going to start with Louise Von Hahn, founder of Duolingo, Chuck Hoover, head of Facebook Reality Labs. We're going to have Google X, which is Google's Moonshot program. Jess Tribus is working with them, and they're out of the West Coast. We're also having participation from Uber's Autonomous Vehicle Research Center. We'll have one of the lead members from the University of Pitt's vaccine development team, Dr. Phalo. We're also going to have some members of tech in Bank of New York Mellon, which actually was one of the most popular visits that we actually had in the past years. And finally, we're going to have a team from Allegheny Health Networks that are going to be meeting our students. So we have packed this up with every day. I call it, big impact, small bites. And we are very, very excited. So please spread the word. We are really excited about this because it's not just, exposing students, but it could be teachers. And it could be parents as well as their teachers. And it could be other people who are just really trying to understand what is happening here in Pittsburgh. So we're very excited. So thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Andy. Thank you so much, Ryan, for kicking the partnership off with Kit. And we'll be back here tomorrow with the Global CIO of Zoom. So thanks, everyone. Enjoy the day.